What do you think? Should we throw another log on the fire and
Well, I think we
make this
have
more
a
of
friend
party?
showing up, don't we?
We do.
Yeah, I think.
This is the first time we've actually talked to this person in person for Cape Ann Today.
That's true.
Though she actually leads all Cape Ann Today guests and appearances.
Yes, but we have never spoken to her in person. And she is our friend and the publisher and editor of the Manchester Cricket.
Yeah, come on in, Erika. It's Erika Brown. We were just with you yesterday.
I know. I love it.
Look at
I
this.
love you guys.
Well, we love you, and it's great to see you here in person.
I know. It's so rare. It's a kind of a weird thing.
Well, we've been in person, but not with the camera in front of us.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Right. So
exactly. We don't have this incredible setup. And this
No.
incredible environment,
Venue?
setting.
Yeah.
I mean, in the venue.
It's
incredible.
awesome. Yeah.
And when we get together, we don't often have like lobster.
No.
No, we don't.
Lobster tail.
But maybe we should start.
Exactly.
Have this be a regular thing, right?
I love it. I'm
There they
there.
are in front of the fire with their seafood tower again.
No, it's been an incredible year. I can't believe it.
It has been. But you know what? I realized when I was trying to think of questions to ask you that probably a lot of our listeners don't know your background. And they don't know how you ended up as publisher and editor of the Manchester Cricket. And why would someone do that with a small local newspaper when everyone says they're dying?
Well, that's a dramatic intro.
Take that.
Everybody says they're
Each
dying.
over here
Yeah,
with a
right.
crab leg.
No, it's actually probably simple. I started my career in local news at the Salem Evening News as a reporter. I was the Topsfield, Boxford, and Middleton reporter. Before
Hotbed.
that, I wrote obituaries.
I love obituaries.
I was
Nothing
at the top
shameful
of the
about that.
ladder.
So was that the promotion? Which one?
Obituaries are very important. That's actually a star in her cap as far as
No,
I'm
so I started my career there, and I ended up going into this other career. I went from there into, which is not unusual, into PR and then advertising and branding. And I started an agency in Boston, and then I just decided I wanted to end my career in sort of back in local news. Not that, and by end, I mean the next 20 years.
yeah, right, exactly.
And it's because I think it's really important. I think community news is the bedrock of a sense of belonging, a sense of engagement, a sense of being a good citizen. And I also think, I mean, I hate to be idealistic about it, but it's true. Local news is really the key to democracy, or a healthy news apparatus, as I say. So I do it, and what I say to people is, they say, what's going on in Manchester and Essex? Like, is there enough to put together a newspaper? And the truth is, there is more than enough. I could put it out, 3 times a week, honestly. So there you go. That's
Well, let's
your
talk
answer.
about the cricket, right? So, how old is this paper? Has it always just served Manchester?
Manchester Cricket was founded in 1888. It's not quite as old as the Gloucester Daily Times, which I think was founded in the 1850s.
Yes.
But yeah, it's one of the oldest papers in the United States. It's only been owned by 3 people. So
Right.
I'm the third
Nice.
owner in 134 years, I think it is, whatever it is. And it's been a grind, but it's been a grind that I wanted and that I really love. I really enjoy doing. And it includes getting together with you guys every week and doing the updates on what's going on in Manchester and Essex, which I love.
That's
Yeah,
invaluable.
we
And
love it
around
too.
Cape Ann to some degree, but for the most part, that's our strike zone, Manchester and Essex, that's us.
Your strike zone, I like that. So you've been the recipient of quite a few awards under your
Oh my
supervision,
gosh,
right?
you're like teeing it up for me.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, no, we haven't. It's the result of just really great people who write for us, honestly. And we've been really lucky. We've won several awards, and some of them very important, from the National Newspaper Association and definitely the New England Newspaper Association. And about a month ago, the Cricket was actually asked to be on the board of the Massachusetts Newspaper Association, which includes like the Globe, the Martha's Vineyard Gazette, and then
Wow.
we represent the small independent newspaper, because they also have Gannett and things like that. So, so I think that's great. So we're doing good things.
Yeah.
yeah. So where are there more small independent newspapers in Massachusetts?
There are a good number of them, but
Yeah.
most small newspapers kind of went through, and this is sort of working itself out now, actually, because people realize this wasn't a very good thing. But most independent newspapers got kind of rolled up, is what they call it, into big holding companies that try to get efficiencies. And so what you have is things that appear to be independent, but they'll have a regional editor or a regional publisher. And the truth is, you can't be a good, this is what I'm going to say, you cannot be a good editor and you can't be a good newspaper unless you are actually in the community that you're covering. And I'll tell you why. First of all, the obvious thing that you got to be there to know what's going on. But here's another thing, and I think about this a lot. When you're responsible and you actually have to walk downtown, and you have people who are either going to walk across the street when they see you or walk to you from across the street, that makes you run your paper a little differently. You have a little more pause, you go a little deeper, you have respect for the story, and you also don't do things like lean into controversy just for the sake of doing something controversial, which is not very productive.
Preach.
Yeah, exactly.
And that is,
It's true.
perfectly said. We have to do the same thing.
Exactly.
Essentially, right.
I think that's why we get along so well.
Yeah.
It's true, because we all kind of are bound by that. We're kind of bound at the heart. in
Yeah,
terms
you're
of that way.
doing neighborhood news,
And so
and
are
you
you.
live in that neighborhood.
And-
It's different.
Sound familiar?
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah, so there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So-
also why local politics aren't partisan, because it just can't be, you know?
That is so true.
Right.
And I tell people that. I say, listen, when you're talking about sort of the Board of Selectmen, it's not whether they're a Democrat or a Republican. They really, what binds them together is whether they want to spend money or whether they don't want to spend money, and whether they like state regulation or don't like state regulation. That's like literally the difference
Right,
between
yes.
them.
Yeah.
I should write that down, because that's really true.
It's so true. It's all
Yeah.
about money, and it's all about, somebody being in your business.
Yeah, yeah.
So, do you have plans for the cricket for 2022? It's a tough thing doing the local newspaper and
Yeah.
a small independent paper such as yours. So, do you think about how this can grow?
Here's how I am, and this is how I've worked. I have sort of a vision for what I think it should be in terms of the experience of the paper, really, the weekly and week out series of the paper. And then I think about advice that I got from an editor, like literally 35 years ago, and it's really done me well. And she said to me, Victoria Ogden, and she said, a story or a project is like a thread at the end of a coat. Just focus on the thread and pull and pull and pull. And if you just do that, before you know it, the whole coat will come down. And that's what it is. That's how I do it. I literally have sort of a midway kind of list of what I want to chip away at. And then I just pull the thread week after week, and then each week we get a little better. And that's worked for me so far. We'll see if it works, but that's my 2022.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Well, I think you two need to talk about your collaboration with Timeline Cape Ann, because that's been
Oh
a
my
really
gosh,
healthy
I was
relationship.
thinking about talking to you guys, and I thought, what about last year? Like, what are the highlights for me? And one of the highlights are actually some of my favorite stories of the whole year are the stories we've worked on
He's
together.
done a great job.
Where Timeline Cape Ann, you've done it for 1623, and then we've worked together to have it shared into a print format,
Right.
and it's really done well. Our readers love it.
Yeah, it's amazing. We had amazing imagery from Manchester Historical Museum, Cape Ann Museum, Sawyer Free Library, and they have old newspaper archives there. So those partnerships are key to begin with. And then to see it on a printed page, though, or even the digital version of the cricket.
It's almost perfect for it.
Yeah.
And especially the stories. Like, here, these are the stories we had this year. I mean, I'll remind you because we've talked about them. But for people who don't know, the first one you did was the Magnolia jewelry heist
Yeah.
from 1934 or 1936?
So, yeah.
Yeah. So sort of during this wave of like
The height of the
robbery, the
Bonnie and
height
Clyde
of
and John
glamour.
Dillinger's
exactly.
gang,
What
yeah.
I would call glamour robberies
Yeah.
across the United States. John Dillinger and Bonnie and Clyde.
Yeah.
It was the largest jewelry heist in the country for a while. It was the equivalent of $6 million, I believe
Yeah,
it was.
right.
Jewelry
Still
stolen.
unsolved, isn't that right?
By the way-
Still unsolved.
Yeah.
1934, the heist happened in 20 minutes, highly organized, with machine guns and guys in suits.
In
Yeah.
Magnolia.
That
Just
probably
crazy.
came up from Providence, Rhode Island.
Yeah.
That's
Very
that's
likely.
the speculation.
In a high-speed chase through Manchester
Through
and out of
Manchester
town. Yeah.
and by Bailey's Garage
Yeah.
on Summer Street.
Yeah.
I loved it. So you did the Booth family, which, hello, incredible story.
So yeah, John Wilkes-Barre's brother actually created the Masconomo Hotel
in Manchester,
in
on
Manchester,
Singing
right on
Beach.
Beach Street. Yeah.
Something like 120 rooms or something like that,
Yeah.
a massive hotel at Singing Beach. Incredibly successful, launched, 10 years after one of the three brothers killed the president of the United States.
Yeah.
You'd think that would have like stopped,
Right.
that would have been a no-go.
Yeah, right?
And
Yeah.
yet it ended up being an incredibly successful hotel where presidents, ex-presidents came,
Yeah.
like
The presidents
stars
came
of
to the booth.
day.
Yeah, that's
After.
kind of
Exactly.
brave of them.
Exactly,
Yeah.
I love that story. So you, I mean,
Abigail
that is
Trask.
just...
Abigail
and
Trask is
Abigail. Oh,
crazy
Okay, my
interesting.
favorite was Corey's headline for that. Abigail Trask, who was a Manchester, very important woman. Our museum is named, is there in her house. Very, very important woman. But I love how your headline was Abigail Trask, boss lady.
Oh, yeah.
So good.
Manchester's
So
boss
good.
lady.
And I think
Yeah.
that's the key to those stories, because you, Corey, have this kind of modern way of looking at history, and you make it like really cool and interesting by today's standards, not by the standards back in 1934. So it doesn't feel like a library. I don't feel like I'm going to the library when I read your stuff.
Oh, that's cool to hear.
Yeah.
Well, they're bite-sized, they're little 5-minute documentaries, and the imagery is great. And then once
Yeah,
you
but the
dig
research
into,
is intense.
Oh, right. So
Yeah,
I'm digging
exactly.
into, the cricket articles from 100 years ago, and sometimes that's all you have to go by to cobble the story together. And like that jewelry heist piece is amazing how it's just unsolved, and it was just sort of forgotten about like after a month. Like, yeah, okay, we're not catching them.
All right,
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
get this. I mean, honestly, we don't need to. But, okay, the mob for New England was not run out of Boston. Most people think it was run out of Boston. It was not. It was run out of Providence, Rhode Island. Hello. And number two, we have to mention that there were witnesses, and those witnesses came forward, and it could have been solved, but those witnesses somehow, I don't know, stopped wanting to talk.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
I'm sure.
right. Yeah, can't imagine why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was great stuff. Yeah, so I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to some more
Anyway,
of that.
what a
And
year.
it looks great in the paper, Erika.
Yeah.
I mean, it really does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay,
we're going to
so
do more of it.
if people want to learn more about the cricket, subscribe to the cricket. How can
Yeah.
they go about doing that?
They can go to thecricket.com. You don't really need to subscribe, just go to thecricket.com and check out articles. You get like 5 free articles a month, and so that pretty much does anybody who's casually interested. And then if you find out you're more interested, go ahead and subscribe and support local journalism.
I get it delivered to my home.
Well,
Heather?
I thought I subscribed, Ms. Brown,
I'm sorry.
but it has not arrived yet, my local journalism.
Okay.
So, but just kind of waiting.
Don't worry, I'll get you.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
all right.
I was just busy last week.
That's okay, no worries. But I did get the police notes, which I love. So
Police
that's good.
notes are great.
Yeah,
People
yeah.
love the police
Yeah,
notes.
so I'm
Can
into
I
that.
finish off with my favorite police note of all time?
Oh, yeah.
That is one of the charms of a local
Totally.
newspaper is people
And
really
we all
love reading
love them.
things like the police notes because they're busybodies. My favorite police note happened about 3 months after I took over the paper 3 years ago. And here was the police note. A woman called into the Manchester Police Department to say that she was reporting a man in the middle of the day walking outside her window, and this is the quote, naked from the waist down. Okay, who goes naked from the waist down, right? So they respond, and you want to know what the outcome was? He was wearing khakis.
Oh, yeah.
All right, that's true.
In Manchester. And
Listen, that could have happened
Yeah.
anywhere
I
else.
thought it was a cartoon character, maybe? Yeah. One of the Simpsons.
that's so funny.
Naked from the waist down. That's
Okay.
put that on a T-shirt.
Teach people, men not to wear khakis, maybe. I don't know.
That would be okay. Isn't that reason enough?
Yeah, right. That
Anyway.
is so funny.
That's great. Well, Erika, we love you.
Yeah,
we're so
we
glad that
do.
you're here. We're going to hang out now after the show,
Yeah.
which is great too. But what a partnership it's been. And you really helped make Cape Ann Today what it is. So we can't wait to chat with you week after week after week.
Yeah.
Well, it'll continue as long as you want it.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, thank you so much for being here.
Alrighty, happy
And happy
holidays.
holidays.
Interested in a sponsorship? Email sponsor@1623studios.org to learn more.